start. I don't know if you have anything else to say, but
I said welcome.
welcome. That works.
Welcome as a speaker.
So I'm Matt Sutherland. I've been here a few times, but I just wanted to give a brief introduction of who I am, so there's someone to see to what I'm talking about here. I graduated from Week3 in business actually, but became a web developer. And me and Zarin own a mobile and web development firm here in Ogden. Right now we have 3 employees, and we're pretty small, but we actually can handle quite a bit of work, so we're always getting bigger projects. Our company is called HQ. If you ever wanted to email me, it's just matt@hqbuilt.com. And this is what we do all day, every day. So I thought it would be fun to talk about what we've learned in our experiences. And what I'm going to talk about today is goal-oriented design. And that's something that I think a lot of the designers that we hire and are always looking at, we do lots of contract work with designers, not just our employees, but the ones that we're hiring from third parties. And what is often a disconnect is that people will design products and make it look pretty, but it doesn't necessarily have good optimization for whatever the goal is. And everything that you're designing has a goal of something. Whether if it's a website, you want them to subscribe to your newsletter, you want them to buy a product, you want them to like you on Facebook or follow you on Twitter. Those are all different goals. An app has the same thing. At the end of the app, you want the person using your product to do something. And so it's not just about making it look pretty, but to actually get an action at the end of it. So I'm going to talk about a whole bunch of different tips of what I think will really help with goal-oriented design. And first off is limit choices. And I wanted to, I'm going to use this whiteboard. I forgot that this thing was kind of weird. I don't know what the right color is. It's going to show up really black.
The darker the better.
Yeah, so we'll use black. So basically, everybody, we've all been to websites, and what you'll often have is a header with different things. This is the browser, and then there'll be a big banner image over here. There'll be a bunch of social actions. We have a column right here full of different things that might be a subscribe button or an RSS feed. A lot of times we'll have like those face mesh icons that have all their different social networks, and Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, and stumble upon whatever that they want to have. You have your content right here. We'll have some more social actions, and then even more like an Instagram feed or a Twitter feed, also a Facebook feed. Those are also very similar things that you'll see on websites all the time. What you'll notice that I think is interesting with sites like this is that we have all these different places that are calls to action. Right there, all these different calls to action. That's another big one. And it's like in-your-face calls to action. And this is something that we see a lot when we're actually going into a site to remake it, to actually make it work. And we'll find that there's a reason they're not getting results. And in our marketing class, you hear about ad blindness, so that we're getting hit with so many ads that you actually don't see it. Something like this is that it will actually decrease your conversions because there's so much that they become blind to it. They focus right here. I can't remember the name of who spoke last time. I wrote it down. Sarah. Yeah, she did a really good job talking about the content that we have, and that she talked about heat mapping, that people's eyes just immediately go there. They don't even look anywhere else. And that's one of the reasons it becomes so busy with it. And so what I was talking about with this is that we want to limit the choices. I have a whole bunch of websites that, if those of you that have computers, will probably be beneficial if you want to go to the websites I'm going to put up here. And this is an example of a website that we built. It's in development, and so the link is a development site. It's not the live one yet because we're still making it. But it's a really, really cool one that, let's see, actually it's worth, if I had my own computer, I was going to do it out here. But let's go, okay. Okay, so this is, I don't know if you guys know who the company Mozy is. They do, online storage backup. This is like a viral marketing piece that we did for them. what's cool about it is they talked about the petabyte of data. What we intentionally did is we have these social share features up here, but it's very limited. It's not scattered all over the place. But they're still very prominent, so the people who want to share this still can. It's very simple in the sense that when you scroll, things happen. You don't have to click on anything. We just made it so it's all within the scroll that happens. And it shows that, the amount of petabytes that are in the world and different companies. Mozy's the biggest one that we're highlighting, so that they have 15 petabytes of data. Different, things that we can play with. And then at the end, we have, that's it. There's really not that much to it when it comes to like the content. But the content's right in the middle, it's in your face, they still get their message across, and we also have the share features. That was just an example that I liked.
Isn't Mozy formerly owned by Josh Coates, the owner of Kids?
So,
Yeah, we started it.
Yeah, they're a really cool company. So does anyone have questions about I think that's kind of self-explanatory. When you think about it, when you take a step back, but what you often find is web developers, they get excited and start putting all these cool little social features, and the clients will be the same way, like, oh, I like it, how's our Facebook feed on the side? And that'll actually decrease results a lot of the time. So,
I did have a question.
Yeah.
Have you gotten any feedback on the site as far as its impact, or is?
So that one specifically, so we had one that was very, very similar to that wasn't interactive, that went nuts. It actually crashed their server. And we didn't design that one. We rebuilt it with this, and to make it interactive. So it's pretty much the exact same thing as what we showed, but it didn't move, right? And that was a really, really good. That's why we did this, because our first one did so well. So yeah.
So could you go back?
Yeah.
Okay, so you think it's better to, scroll down and have all the information there than to have links so that each one of those areas is a separate page?
So something that you're always trying to think of is just how can we reduce friction to get what we want to happen. Scrolling, they're already scrolling. Clicking on a link is another action that they have to do in order to do it, in order to get to wherever you want them to be. And so often within the scroll it's better. It depends on the kind of site. For something like this, it's definitely better to just have it be a scroll. Some pages would be better to have separate if you're presenting completely separate ideas. And a lot of those reasons would be for search results. Because if you have it on a separate page, that way Google's indexing both of them separately, and you're popping up in different results. So, anyone else? Okay. And then this is kind of similar to what we were just talking about, but promote the action, or promote when its action's likely. With this example that I made up here, when someone lands on your website and they're bombarded with all these different social features or whatever, subscribe buttons or buy, they're not likely to do it because they don't even know what you are yet. But they are likely to do something once they like you. So the whole goal is to get them to like your website, like the content you have, whatever it is that you're trying to promote, and trust you, and then get them to do what you want them to do. And a really good example of this is actually an interesting site. It's OkCupid's blog. They have a really cool feature that when you go to their blog, I don't really like the content on this site, but they rank for online dating, and that's like one of the most competitive keywords there are, is like anything dating online. Those people are nuts when it comes to like getting search results. And so what's cool is that they do so well on it, and one of the reasons is they don't overdo it with social features. I wanted to go to that site as well just because I want to show you how it works. Like I said, so they have lots of weird content, but I went to it today and I know that a lot of this content's like about sex, but we're looking at the design. Don't look at the content. But you notice there's no clutter on the sides, but look how when I scroll down to the bottom, it hits me. It's like you just read this entire article, you probably want to share this. When I looked at this a week ago and I was planning on showing this, they had a different article that wasn't about sex, but anyway. That's what I think is really cool, is that you come down and then right at the bottom, boom, you you read the whole article, if you read the whole thing, you probably liked it. Why don't you share it with your friends? Really, I think that's just a really good example of it.
Has there been research done on that though? It's like, I mean, I remember in my Photoshop class, I think this was last week, I was at this one website and asked them, what do you like about this website? And a student, after a quiet pause, oh, I like the Facebook link. It's like, I couldn't believe all the great things on that website, and that's what they said. So, I mean, is it a generation thing, like that certain websites would be good to have that, or? I mean, putting you at the bottom, I don't.
Yeah. So that's something I'm going to talk about coming towards the end, but just it's really the results that matter, and some of those results can vary depending on who's going to the site. It could be a generational thing. It can vary on times of the day, and so I'm going to talk about that at the end. A lot of websites you'll see actually change, and you wouldn't notice that, but if you go to the site at a different time of day, the actual whole website might change because they know the demographics change depending on the day. I talked about this a little bit last week, that we designed a website for Coins. You guys know who Coinstar is. They have such an international demographic that we made it so that depending on which country they come from, it's still the same .com, but the whole website will change depending on which country they're coming from. That was pretty easy just because we knew it was a different demographic, but like bigger websites will do it depending on what state you're coming from, depending, it all changes. It's kind of cool. So, okay, and then this one I think is good, that to get away from like ad blindness that we were talking about before, is just to change what's typical. And a lot of times you'll see a website that's poorly designed will just have very, very typical calls to action, and because that people don't even notice them. This is another website that we built that's very simple. Again, I put it on the development one just because I don't know if I'm allowed to share the real one yet. But basically, we have different calls to action. It's kind of a tool that we made that says how green you are, and so you fill out this little survey, all of these different, if you drive what kind of car you drive, things like that, and at the end it would tell you I wasn't very green, obviously, 3%. But then and then you can share results with friends. But what I want to focus on is that we have these different calls to action here that aren't the very typical ones. We changed it so it is a better looking design at the end of the day. Does that make sense about just kind of how that works? Okay. And this is good for social proof. A lot of what I'm talking about is, I feel like my job is just to make the internet prettier and look better. And me and Darren talk about this, so we're almost like cursed that we go to every website and instantly I'm like tearing them apart on what's wrong with it. And it's basically mostly because of experience of what we've had with it just drives poor results. And I feel bad for these websites, and it's like if you just change this one thing, you would have a lot better results at the end of the day. So social proof is something that you'll see as a customer validation. That's a very, very common on websites to say, hey, look, these companies use our website, or whatever that is, or your Facebook friends. And this is a really good example. So this is SEOmoz.com/blog. So this is a really, really good resource for search engine optimization or internet marketing. I think it's probably the best one out there for that specific topic. But what I like about it is they have all of their content in the middle that's curated by their users of about, we've talked about some of these things, it's for responsive web design. And then they do have the social feature of, this is what your Facebook friends that use the site. For me, it shows my Facebook friends, and what I like about it is, so for example, that one's me, Matt Sutherland, right? This person, his name's Scott Kelly. Do you guys know the company Zag? He was the former head of marketing, internet marketing for Zag. I'm friends with him. She owns a small business, and that's all she does is internet marketing. This kid, he's an affiliate marketer. His whole business is marketing. Another small business. They're all kind of small business owners or internet marketers. So it's very, very quick proof to me that this content is probably relevant because I know these people do it. Anybody that knows me, that's what I do all day long. So if they were to come to the site and it says, hey, your friend Matt Sutherland likes this, well, it's probably relevant. So they're using very, very relevant content there. But on other websites, it may not be as relevant. If I'm looking for a business tool, and chances are a lot of my friends probably don't like it because not all my friends use business tools, right? And so it's not as relevant to put this kind of tool there if it's not relevant, right? For an example, this. I don't know if you guys know what Basecamp is. Basecamp's a really cool project management tool that we've used. But what it's awesome about it is they have this person, she says, I keep track of project discussions, files, and events from beginning to end, all in one place. It's great. It's just their customer validation saying this is a great product, it's designed very clean, focuses on the emotion of it, and you get this emotional attachment. If they were to put up my Facebook friends, I guarantee none of my Facebook friends even like this. And so it wouldn't help me at all to do something like that. And so making sure that if we're validating it, we're running with the right companies. Often you'll see that the companies that, they'll say this has been used by the New York Times, the New York Times talked about it. If they link to that article, that's a really good validation also.
I also think it's cool on the site, at the bottom it says Joy is the designer of Mighty Bytes,
yeah.
and it links to that, so it's showing, they didn't just search some stock image of some person that's happy, they took an actual photo of an actual client. I think that's really big.
Yeah, no, that's great. We do this a lot with the clients that we work with, and often we recently had one that they would not give us anybody to validate it with. And so we just made it up, and we were like, okay, well, we're gonna put Susie here and say that they said this. And you'll see tons of websites that do that. If there's a person like this, often they're fake and they made up the quote. But this proves it, and that's a very good point. That there's a link to her site directly to see, look, this isn't a fake person. So, yeah, good.
A question on the last page that you were on where it showed all of those people and others who like it. How do they determine who shows up there?
So it's just,
How did they get the
this
most
is a
comments?
Facebook tool, and so since I'm always logged into Facebook, which most people are, through their browser, it's just pulling that from their Facebook API, and it's just showing my top friends. You'll see that there's 3 squares missing. If I had 3 more friends who like this, and that would be completely full. Sometimes you'll come to a widget like that, and there'll only be 2 of them. So, and that's actually a really, on the web development side, that's really easy to do. Facebook's made that easy. If you just go to developers.facebook.com, they give you the code to just do something like that. So
you can scrape the Facebook site, find out your friends who like this.
Yeah. And so on your own website, all you have to do is drop that code onto your own website, and it will show the same thing. You can direct it. You can like a page on Facebook. Like if I liked this article, then it would be directly to this article. This is actually I like their Facebook page. So they have their own custom Facebook page. So it's separate from the website, which a lot of times those will generate more likes than just an article. So that's what that's specifically showing. And then it shows the number, which is nice. 96,000 other people like it also. So that's really good validation. Anything else? Just a quick internet marketing tip. Lots of the internet is fake, but it works. So when we set up a client, a lot of the clients that we work with are new businesses, and so they may have 0 Facebook likes. You can actually buy likes from India, and so we'll just go buy a whole bunch of them. So they'll have 10,000 fake likes. You can't buy 100,000. That's impossible to do. So that shows that this one's real. But yeah, so we'll just go buy likes, and it makes them, hey, look, all these people like your page, and they're completely fake, but it works for validation. So
How much is it?
really cheap, $5. So yeah, that's kind of a fun thing to do.
That's the new child labor pool.
Yeah.
Yes.
7-year-old Indian kids.
We're allowed to spend taxpayer dollars on it.
Yeah, probably. You hear that a lot. With apps, you can do the same thing. Because those of you that, Android or iPhone, when you go to download an app, one of the first things you're going to look at is the customer reviews. Well, half the time those are fake too. You can go buy customer reviews that are all 5-star ratings. And so for $5, you get 200 reviews, and they'll go from India and they'll just review it, give it a 5-star, and it makes it look like you have a good app after that. So.
Can you buy 1 star? Because that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Right,
I've never tried that.
For the competition.
Yeah. So yeah, and then another quick thing just to talk about with this is they still have some of these things. If I am a Facebook user, or if I'm a Google Plus user, or Twitter, those are I'm going to click on the one that's most relevant to me. Everybody, the world's active on different social networks now. There's so many of them that are relevant. Pinterest, and I may want to follow them on Twitter, but not on Facebook, because of our jobs. Like we're very active on all of them, because we kind of need to understand all of them. But if a company like this, I'm more likely to follow it on Twitter because I kind of put all my businesses on Twitter than I do on Facebook. So that's okay. Yeah, this is another one that sometimes it's confusing. I feel like you can come to a website and you want to subscribe to their newsletter, but because of all the noise that's going on, you don't know how. And that can be because there's buttons over here, there's buttons over here. A very kind of rule of thumb is that up in the top header or the bottom footer is where people are going to look if they want to subscribe to your content. So if we have in the top header your Facebook icon, your Twitter icon, then they're going to immediately go there if they want to know about it. It doesn't need to be all over the place because that's hard to find. And another one is the subscribe process. I wanted to show, this is a really cool site. It's just foundation.kr. I wanted to go to that one. There it goes. Okay. This is a really cool website that a venture capitalist uses, and he just interviews different people that are influential. It shows that all of these people have done something that's cool. What's easy about the design is when I scroll down, you'll notice that there's more content to the right, but there's no place to click actually. And what I like about it is that if I just move my mouse over there, it starts scrolling automatically because it knows that's what I'm looking to do. But when it comes to making it simple, what they did is they put here is subscribe to Foundation newsletter to get the latest video delivered in your inbox. If I were to input I click sign up. I think it's Maggie. I'm already signed up.
You didn't put an email, you just put a website.
Oh, yeah, that's right away. Well, it doesn't like an email, but it's still very, very simple. It just pops up and said you confirm and you're done. There doesn't need to be a long process. There's no clutter around it, and the content's very visible to everyone that's looking for it. So you know exactly what you're going to get right from the start.
One observation, man, on a tablet, it might just be my tablet, I cannot scroll with spaces. I can't get to the right side, and again, it just might be
Really?
my particular tablet, so just a consideration about websites.
Yeah.
So would that be better as a
Portability.
vertical?
What's that?
So would that be better vertical?
The actual people?
Yeah.
I mean, something like that. That would be hard to say.
Yeah.
You'd have to
That's
test it. And that's a really good point that he's bringing up. And a lot of the websites I'm showing, I'm finding very, very specific elements that they do well. For this website, to me, that's the element that they're doing very well. And they get tons of subscribes because it's so easy to subscribe to what their content is. But they might not be good on mobile. I didn't check to see what it looks like on a tablet or iPhone. So it would be good to make sure that your content is consistent across every single device because they're looking for that. So.
There is a scroll bar, sorry.
Oh, there is?
Rob, do that, right, but it's hard to work.
Yeah.
That
If
little
you don't-
highlighted, long
Oh,
line.
yeah.
You don't hit the right piece of it, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Evan Rose is usually better at these things.
Yeah, I
She
know.
have a little responsive design going.
On the phone, it just says open in iTunes.
Oh, it does.
Look at that small, yeah.
How about the middle one?
You should get it all the way to the
How about if you just click on
That was actually, I was going to show you what you have.
Oh, yeah. Do you want to?
Yeah.
I wish I had
I'm
this
gonna,
one.
I'm gonna show you this. I don't even remember what it's called.
I don't find it now.
So just as in, I don't, sorry, my computer wouldn't work on that, so we're going to have to use his for now. But we have this really cool tool that we use that every website that we go to, we have this bookmarklet, and if we want to check to see how it looks on every single device, we can click on these little tabs, and that shows what it looks like in a tablet landscape view. So it kind of shrinks the site. But if we want to see what the landscape or a portrait view of a tablet looks like, it'll show us. We can get it on landscape view of a phone, and you'll see it just says open at night because they don't even display it. But they did design it, which is good because they're saying, look, you can still do it. You just have to use these steps. So that's a really, really cool tool that we just use. It's just a Chrome bookmark that will show every single website what it's going to look like when you condense it.
So that shows how it fits in that space. Does it also show how it functions? Like, would that show that
Yeah.
you can't just mouse over
It
how it's
would,
still?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So. Okay. This is another big topic, and one of the important things that I feel like where there's a disconnect of designers that we talked about is just with the actual development process that designers need to really understand how development works because, like I said, it's easy to make something look pretty, but to make it functional to what their goal is, sometimes there's a gap there. And this is a really, really good website. I think I made it pretty good. So it's an example of a site that's designed, and it's the design and everything is optimized for SEO. One example is that a designer will often make an image like this, and it looks really cool, and it gets the point across really fast that there's this vintage sale going on. But going back to what search engine optimization, Google doesn't see this. It's just an image to them. And so if they were to look at it, that's something if someone was looking for your website, to know that there's a vintage sale going on would be really important to know. But if you're searching online, normally that doesn't get indexed because there's no proof that it actually exists. Why I like this site so much is I'll move my mouse, look if I actually can highlight all the text on here. Free delivery, UK orders. They coded every single piece of text that's even within these graphics. And so that way it does get indexed. And so if someone searches for the site, they want to know there's free delivery and it's not just an image there. Those are all separate pieces of code. It's not just the image. Designed for something like that, same thing here. You can see I can highlight all of that. They're all separate.
What are the tags that are around those? Are they using like H1 for their?
Yeah,
That's okay.
Yeah, I mean, we could, that's in my, so we can, I don't know if you guys know, the inspect element tool is really nice, so, expand.
It's in an H2.
Yeah, H2. So, I mean, yeah, in Google Pixels, we'll separate that every time, so. I have this in the presentation. So for example, we kind of just talked about that. Oh, actually we didn't talk about this stuff. So this is, and a really good example is that this image for clothing puts across the message very, very, very fast. For a person that's looking for this kind of clothing, they see, okay, that's my style, I like that. And that's what we want them to see. But however, Google would normally just see something like this. Image, alternate text, clothing shop now. And so for search results, you wouldn't actually find anything. And there's a really cool techniques that you can do to make sure that you're getting the best of both worlds. Because we don't want to, so here is a good example from laid back tees and classic denim, bodycon silhouettes and cute party wear to everyday basics. So the keywords there would be laid back tees, there's denim, bodycon silhouettes. Those are very, very big keywords, but it doesn't look good to put that on the image or anywhere near the image because you don't want to have, it makes it busy, and that's the whole problem. So what this site did, and that's one of the reasons I like it, is if I just hover on it. If I hover on it, then it gives me a description. So then we get the description of what's going on, but then on the design side, we don't have to have all this cluttered text. All of these just hover. That's all indexed. Google sees it, and it also helps the person, the user, because they can see the description of what's going on. Another example of this is kind of more on the programming side, are these expandable divs. Those are all images. It shows very, very quickly what the style is, but we need to make sure that we have the crawlable text there. And so what they did is that if you click on it, it expands and gives more information about it. So that's just a really good practice to show, what kind of design works and what won't work. Does that make sense? Do you guys have questions about how that works? Okay. And this gets back to, I think it was your question on when it comes to, what actually works. If we were to ask everyone in this room what they think is better on a website, I'm sure most of us would have a different opinion, especially because a lot of us are in this industry. We have more developer people, we have more designer people, and we're going to have different opinions. But at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter what my opinion is, it's what's going to drive results and what's going to have the highest percentage of people clicking through. And there's lots of different tools that we can use for that. This is a really good example that I liked. So this was what the original design of this company is the same one that made that base camp, and they're called 37 Signals. They have a different product called High Rise. Their original page had this, and it has, their product has, and it's a really well-designed site actually. Tons of different text about what this product does. They changed it to this, and their results were 100% increase. They have a happy person. There's actually a lot less text. They're showing, the page in action, and they tested. Okay, well maybe it was just her. They tested all these different people, and every time it was about the same. But it didn't matter who the person was. So their conclusion was that a big smiling face on the screen is really going to help with this type of website. However, other websites, it may be better to have something like this. It depends on the kind of users that are coming to your site, because we all have different opinions. And so that's what A/B testing is about. Do we know what A/B testing is? I didn't even talk about that. So A/B testing is something you can do with the code of your site, and there's lots of different tools that I'll give you that will help you do this. But basically, it will randomize when everybody comes to the site and give them a different screen. And so they probably had 10,000 people came to the site, 5,000 got this one, and 5,000 got that one. That's why I got better results. Most internet marketers will do this like crazy, where they're testing down to there's the button. They'll change the color of this button or that button. Most important though is, and this is what internet marketers often will kind of obsess over this, but is the actual content. Sometimes you'll obsess over, okay, is this one better or is this one better? Well, what if this product sucks? If the product sucks, then people aren't going to buy it either way. So you need to make sure that the product's a good product, and then you can start really doing these kind of things. We have people all the time that will approach us and want us to build them an awesome website in this great internet marketing campaign, and they're kind of putting it all on our shoulders to build this awesome campaign. But it's like, well, if you have a crappy product, there's nothing that we can do to make it work. We can design an awesome site, we can do everything, but if your customer service doesn't work, if this person doesn't do their job, then that may be the problem.
Is the converse true? If you have a great product and a lousy website, can it affect the sales on that product?
Totally. I mean, we hear all the time different products that we think are awesome that we found, but nobody else does because it's a crappy designed site or something like that. And so they have really, really poor results. And a lot of times they get left unfound and they go out of business for things like that. So it's just like regular typical marketing when it comes to things like that, what matters. So lots of e-commerce sites you'll see pop up that will have really, really good design, and they'll just be all affiliate sales, and they'll be undercutting the person that they're getting affiliate sales for. So, I mean, even like Amazon is an example. Amazon sends out tons of affiliate links, which is great, and then you'll have someone that will design a really cool site that will appeal to a different demographic that Amazon's design doesn't appeal to. So they buy it from that site, and they're really buying it from Amazon, but that site has the better design, so it's getting more sales than on a specific product. That happens all the time because, you know, take like an outdoor product. Amazon has this very, very plain design, but an outdoor product might be able to do something cooler that appeals to those kind of people. So that's kind of why Amazon does those affiliate sales, because it still helps them at the end. So, same thing happens with apps. A really good example is we have we didn't build this, we were really close with a friend that's an app developer, and he looked for a Bible in Spanish, like on his iPhone, and all of them were really, really poorly designed. And he spent, there's a website called 99designs.com. It's a really, really cool website. You can say, I want a logo that does this, and all these different designers will make mock-up logos, and then you choose the one that you like, and then that person gets all of the money. So it's like $300 to do something like that. And so they'll make a ton of them, you choose the one and they get everything for it. It's kind of a fun site. So anyway, he did that for an app logo, made a really, really nice app logo for $300, and then paid a developer like $600 in India to develop his Bible app. And all it was is just text about the Spanish Bible. And since he had a way better design than everybody, he makes like $2,000 a month off of this app. He just sells it for $1 in the App Store. And he spent $600 or $800 to make it. But just because it has a better design. At the end of the day, that's all that mattered. It had a way better design. Another example is Scan. Does anybody? This is a company out of Provo, actually. It's called Scan.me. It's a QR code scanner, and that's all it was. And his name's Garrett G. He made a really, really good icon for it, and it's the same kind of QR code scanner as any other one, but he got 20 million downloads for it. And because of that, they just got funded, like, it was like 1.6 million from Google to run that app, you know, but it was just because of better design. So all of these things, these tests do matter, because it's, you know, people, that's what they'll judge you on. They judge a book by the cover every time. So, any questions about kind of A/B testing? Okay.
And this is high standards of the backpack company, because, yeah, the sign on the left, I mean, did they just change it recently? Because
Yeah, that's what it used to be for a long time. They just recently changed it to that.
I think all their products, they had a template, kind of a standard template for all their stuff,
Yeah.
because they all have that same look, so it's interesting to see them doing something different.
Yeah, yeah, and what I was actually going to talk about that a little bit. We can, since we're on the topic. They're a company that I respect a lot based on their design, and one of, we were already talking about this. So they actually randomize the people, so it's different every time. So you can see, like, they had that girl, but I'm getting this guy, so it shows that they're testing stuff like crazy to see what works best. But another thing that I want to talk about, this is their blog, and it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Compare this blog to that. This is actually one of the most subscribed to blogs for this type of, for design and business that's out there. It's really a super popular blog called Signal versus Noise. And it's a lot more simple than anything. Their text is actually a little about 2 points bigger than most text is on blogs. So you can see that just from here, that it's really, really big. There's hardly any clutter. It gets straight to the content right in the middle, and that's what people want. If you're giving people that kind of content, they trust you, and then they'll subscribe, and then they buy your products. So it's like super simple. I mean, all it is just a straight text, but for a blog, it gets the point across. I read this a lot just because they talk about really good design practices. So, okay. And then I kind of, at the end of it, I wanted to talk about just some of these resources. Those are all very good. Optimizely.com and Unbounce.com are both for web designers, and you don't need to be an IT person to use those sites. That's really cool. You can actually just put your website in there and then just start dragging and dropping things and moving it over, and it will do it for you. And then it will do all these tests for you with, when your users come to your site and test to see which one's the best. Another one that is called whichtest1.com. this one's more of a, does the same thing, but they, what I like about this site is that they'll show you, it's every day it's different, and they'll give you one, but they'll show you different things that they're being tested and what the results were. And so, for example, on this, they're comparing these two different buttons. The buttons are pretty much the exact same besides the text. You can see the enlarged version of the site. It's for this kinder care website. The button is, let me show you, but you can see the button on the bottom right. And then there's this one right there. So it's the exact same site. They just changed the vote. I mean, we could ask everyone in the room, hey, what one do you think's better? I'm not sure which one I think's better. That's what's kind of fun about this site.
Tuition and openings.
You think tuition and openings is better? Okay, we'll see. That's just our guess. We'll click the vote. So the visitors voted. 59% of the people agreed with you that who voted, but then the actual results, yeah, so it increased it by 282%. Just that change. So that's a pretty big
What
lift.
was the, I mean, I didn't realize the types are different. I just noticed the icon, the magnifying icon was a little more over the button.
Oh, I didn't even notice that. Was it? I'm gonna go back.
Yeah, so that's
Oh
what I
yeah,
thought they were
so they
testing.
moved the button a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, it seems like they're need to isolate their variables. or
Yeah.
something.
And a lot of times they'll do drastic changes, just like that 37 signals that was complete redesign of the site, and just show which one's better. But yeah, that's interesting. And so this will give everything about, you know, the site of what, of the reason why. So, like I said, it's really interesting. I was reading the other day about REI's site, and this isn't a design thing, but it's from the program. They increased their page load time. I mean, it was by, on an average, 1 second, and by increasing it 1 second, that increased their sales 40% on their website, which to me is like unbelievable, because that means 40% of these people could like not wait 1 second. They were leaving the site before, you know. And that one actually shocked me that it would increase it that much, because that means it's like 1 more second. I'm not waiting. I'm leaving. I'm not buying the product. And it's just funny how some of those things, you know, will affect results. But that's what I like a lot about internet marketing and this kind of design, is that we can quantify it so directly, you know. Whereas you can't do that as easy on a billboard sign to see how much, you know, the results that are going to happen from here. One small change, and we instantly can see the results that happen. So, anyway, did that answer any questions? Okay, well, I think about our time, so.
So do you see a lot of the testing going on a web page somehow being translated to a billboard or translated to a print
They
marketing
try
campaign?
a lot. I mean, but you'll see it a lot on because we've helped companies with marketing in all aspects. And I mean, for an example, those QR codes are a very good example of showing whether it's working or not. Because if someone scans it, they know that they scanned it. Facebook's coming out with a very, very big overhaul of their ad system, because they're linking everybody's Facebook accounts to their business accounts, and so the people can see if, okay, we put this many Facebook ads on the side, and then they actually go into the store and buy it, and it's under the same, you know, Facebook email address. We can see direct results, you know, with in-store purchases. The same thing we'll be able to use for billboards, but that's not out yet.
But
They're always trying to quantify it.
That's a good point, though. Even with QR codes, there's a possibility of some technical problem. Like, I cannot, for the life of me, scan those codes at the airport
Yeah.
for some reason. And they're this big. And somehow it never quite reads it. I don't know what's wrong. It's printed off or something. But
Maybe that's part of the social experiment.
you think there's a camera on it?
Maybe you're not. Yeah, they're testing something else.
With the candid camera.
Great. That's all I have, so.
Thank you. I need to sneak out. We have a faculty
Yeah.
camp.
Oh, you do? All right. Any other questions for or comments on this? I think this is a good discussion.
Could you, the slide on customize, don't use the standard calls to action. I'm not, could you elaborate some more on that? I mean, it actually does seem to make sense, but at the same time, sometimes we want familiarity, right? It must depend on the context. And, I mean, like when it comes to I don't know, form widgets, if we were to present some weird form widget that people aren't familiar with, they might get puzzled by it. So, were you talking about text or?
So mostly, or I guess, yeah, that's really a good question. I can't remember. I think it's really depends. With an example of like a Facebook like, a lot of times they do want the same thing. It does depend on the context of what it's in, but it's more of like trying to shy away from ad blindness and the standard calls to action, or of something like this where it's just all over the place. But putting it, a really good example is that OkCupid blog and how it just pops down, and it actually was designed very similar to other ones, but it pops down right at the very end, and so it's not standard. You don't see that every time that you scroll down, so it catches their eye, they click on it, they like. That's an example.
I've read a lot of blogs recently that talk about kind of humanizing these calls to action, and again, it kind of depends on who your audience is, but some examples they give, usually people put like contact us, and there's variations that you can do with it, say like drop us a line or get in touch or things like that, just make it a little bit more human, and it's still obvious what it is, but it catches your attention a little bit more because it's you can connect to it easier.
I'm thinking of the Canvas, for example. Canvas, our learning management system, when an error happens and it, what's it say? It says
This
snap.
boots that last request didn't work
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, which is sort of,
Yeah.
and eventually, maybe you keep having to do this because eventually everything becomes cliche, so you have to keep moving.
Yeah. MailChimp.com is a really good example of that. They really humanize the whole process. Like when you send out an email campaign, it says high fives, your emails are on their way, or instead of like you have 100 emails that have been sent or whatever. And every single step that they have of creating this email campaign, which is usually kind of a generic, boring process, they make very fun. And I mean, they don't go over the top, but they do a really good job of that.
Another example, I think a lot of times people, depending on the generation, Facebook Connect, that you can log into a site using your Facebook account. I think a lot of you have probably seen that. People are often wary of doing that because they're like, I don't want this posting on my Facebook account or whatever reason. So a really cool design practice that I've seen is that they'll actually take you through a process where you'll see it a lot in apps now, where it will say, this is what we do on our website. We use your friends. If we can gain more of your friends, this makes your experience a lot more enjoyable. And then it will prompt you with, do you want to sign in with your Facebook account? It gives the entire, process before, so it doesn't scare people away with just, I'm not going to put my Facebook information. Same thing with like an iPhone will do that with whether it wants to use your location. A lot of those of you that use iPhones, it will ask you if you want notifications, and they'll tell you why they're going to ask you that question before they ask it to you. So the actual call to action is the exact same as all the other ones, but it's presented in a different way that people actually click it. So.
What I don't understand and what I don't like, so there's a site and there's 5 different things I could do. And I have to have 5 different accounts, and then I have to go in and keep track of all 5 of those. And since it's not my business and I don't have to every day, it just annoys me because it's like if I only do one, then I'm tied into that one system. So I can't have a Google Plus and a Facebook account because it takes too much time and energy, and it's like if I want to contact people, I have to do, if it's important to me, then I have to do it twice. And I don't know if that's a generational thing, if it's just not where my social life is, and so it doesn't matter to me.
Most people aren't active on all of them, and there's only a certain few that they do use, a lot, and so they'll use that for everything. We actually are building a tool right now that kind of will track that. It's called socialstats.me. It's a fun little internal project that we're going to have that will show where you're active on all your social networks, and so that people can connect with you where you are active. That's why I was talking about like with websites where they'll put them all there so that you can choose which one you want to be connected on, and because you may not use them all.
It makes me feel inadequate because there are so many there,
Yeah.
and I'm only doing this one, so it's like I'm missing out on, 5 others or something.
Yeah, and usually it's duplicate content and everything else, and so if you do it with one, you're good on everything.
But I have to buy into their system to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like on I have a Windows 8 tablet, and the button that says people, I have to have my Microsoft account.
Yeah.
And I can't use, where I am to access that tool.
Yeah, and I don't know, that you're going to with different products, especially when you're signed in with multiple things. Right now, I am not a Mac fanboy at all. Ironically, that I have all Mac products, but everything I have is synced on everything. You know, my Mac Air, my iPhone, my iPads, everything's synced, and I don't have to ever worry about issues like that. That's the reason I have all of them. But if I chose to go with Android one day, I easily could. But it would probably it's better when they're all synced. You know, so that's
Now there are tools out there, right? I mean, Adobe, for corporations, don't they create a tool set where you can push out it to multiple locations, and you can pull in from multiple locations and do your metrics and that kind of thing?
Yeah, there's tons of tools like that. A lot of times they don't work very well. Even Adobe, they don't work as well as if you just do it directly on those different products. But
so it's cheaper to hire somebody in India to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
Yeah, so we use those kind of tools a lot. It's same thing happens when you design for websites with different browsers. That's like the vein of our job is trying to make it work on Internet Explorer and Chrome and every single other browser there is. So, yeah.
That's a whole topic in itself.
Yeah, it is. So same thing with phones. You have to develop an app for iPhone, but then the same thing for Android, and there's so many different kinds. And so it's all about finding where your users are. And they may be more users on Android versus iPhone that are more relevant to what your product is, and so it's more important to develop for that platform. We always keep that in mind with everything we start.
I remember when I taught, the 2350 or whatever it was back in 2001. The baseline, because it was very strict in terms of the codes, would be like Opera. So if you could code it on Opera, then somehow it would work on everything. But of course, that's a long time ago, and I don't think anything like that ever. Is there a baseline that we can use now for web development?
All of the modern browsers, they all are fine. Internet Explorer, Chrome, it's the older ones that you run into issues with, and so it's just trying to make it work on older browsers. But that's what we've found. Like IE 8, anything below Internet Explorer 8 is like harder heck to down, to get it to work on. So I think most users who use that browser, the internet just looks ugly for them, and they don't know why. It's because of the browser, because you can't develop for it.
They're so old they don't even care.
Yeah.
Are you guys doing A/B testing yourselves?
Yeah, we do it on different sites. Currently, we don't have any open projects that we're doing that on.
Have the results ever, contradicted your own?
A lot of times that will happen. You'll see that it's like you'll make a really pretty design, and then the ugly design is the one that works, And so that's what you'll find. I honestly think, Amazon, for example, it's not that pretty of a site to me, but I'm sure they do testing like crazy, and it works. And so sometimes you'll find that your best instinct isn't what's best. That's why it's important to test them. So, a lot of it will depend on the type of site, and that's what people will get wrong, is they're designing for the wrong kind of industry. Amazon or Facebook, they have super simple designs because that's not what's important. People are coming to the site for the content. They want to see directly the people's posts or whatever that is. So everything else is kind of away. But if you're designing for a product, then you want that to be very, very pretty, and so that people come and they're like, this is a really cool site, I trust it, I want to buy it. But if it's designing for a content type site, you're going to do it very simple, like that one I showed with the blog. There was nothing to it. But a product, you want to have a lot cooler pictures and things like that. So.
Yeah, it seems like, some of this stuff, a lot of what you presented, the sites, appeal to a new user, and then you can probably tolerate, a lot more design flaws on a returning user. I'm not making it's a pretty obvious point, but again, I know like in KaiTester, we've got pretty much a captive audience.
Yeah.
We don't have to invest quite as much time in, in interfaces.
Yeah, but the more you use the site, the more annoying this. If I go to a site and I'm still trying to figure it out, and I'm interested in the content, then I'll put up with some. But
But that's an interesting point. I wonder if there would be the way that there's a correlation between the design and click-through, conversions. I wonder if there would be a relationship between the design of tie tester and improving their test scores. If the site is prettier, are they going to do better on the test?
Still like taking tests.
I don't know.
Yeah, we have someone studying that right now for a master's thesis.
You have someone studying that right now?
Well, they're doing interior design. They're not looking at the test interface.
Is a student from the interior design department,
From communications.
from communications. And do you know what their methodologies are? Their
They're
theoretical?
still working on it. They have to do the rewrite of the proposal.
Oh.
Didn't it have to do with the environment when they were talking about it? Like if they were taking a test out sitting next to the lake, would they perform better on it? It was nice and quiet. Wasn't that, because we talked about it in MOTC.
And that was part of the
Environment.
proposal, was the environment wasn't well defined. They meant, did they mean the user interface, or did they also mean the larger room in which the test was taken?
So is it a BIS? Oh, it's a master's.
It's a master's thesis.
In communication. That would be interesting to see what kind of people you put on that committee, where they're coming from. I mean, is that anthropology? Is it
It's
you know,
sure.
marketing? It's interesting. Speaking of which, do you think, I like the fact that you kind of, there was this sort of marketing aspect of it constantly coming through.
I think this is most people building websites or businesses, and it's marketing is their own deal, generally speaking.
They want to sell something.
They want to sell, they have a goal.
They want to measure that it's effective. I'm wondering if maybe that's something we should bring in more to this as well, just some sort of could you think of anything that, in terms of the marketing aspect of what we've been talking about, that we could bring somebody in to talk about, or it would be interesting to talk about, more. Just throwing that out.
I remember in the beginning of web design talking about goals, and that your website can only have one goal. Do you think that's true still?
It's ideal, but I mean, lots of websites have more than one goal, and so they have to incorporate different ways to do that. Here's an example of something like that I think is good. It's strum.co. I really like the design of this website. They have, this app. It's really big. There's the goal, but the problem is they have two different types of people coming to their site: business owners and non-business owners. The whole site, they just give you an option. Here, I'm not a business owner, so it changes the site. I think it's a really creative way to do that. How it just changes. Okay, the content is geared towards businesses, or the content is geared towards people. So lots of times a website will have a goal of getting them to subscribe to their newsletter, but they also want them to buy a product. And so just figuring out how to separate that. Because if you can get them to subscribe, there's a good chance that they're going to come back and buy something else. So you really do have more than one goal. And it's kind of just figuring out a good way to design that you're not confusing. So.
I wonder if there's more to be said on, standards calls to action. I mean, when David's trying to bring in other people that might be able to present on this stuff, because when we use language too, when we talk about things, there's always the in fashion colloquial expression. Like, I don't know what it is now. It's snap is popular. And so when those always seem to probably have to be updated too. The standard call to action eventually will become the norm, and then you have to think about redoing it. I'm just wondering, what is that cycle? Like, when does a new and innovative call to action become tired? I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's interesting, because I was thinking of like Laura's question about, or a comment about her students, and they liked the fact that the call to action was that they could like with Facebook. And so does having some call to action, but not too many, actually make the site more attractive, because people they want something to happen, right? not just you're benefiting from it, but they actually like the site because they can make something happen through it. But it's at the same time that Facebook like just happens to have a lot of cachet at the moment, where we're already hearing about younger people thinking it's your grandmother's Facebook, and they want to be on, well, I'm more business oriented now, so I want to be doing things on Twitter, which I've heard a lot actually, or I want to be somewhere else that's more specific to my interests or whatever. I don't know. I mean, do you get a sense of that at all? That design.
Yeah, totally. And that's why I think it's good to, like, for us, I mean, that's to stay up to date with it on current, trends, and some of these social networks help you with that. On, like, for example, Twitter. I mean, I follow tons of different designers on Twitter, and they post their new things that they come out with, and the results, the different things that they do. I do the same thing. It's a community, and sometimes people come out with a completely new, call to action. It's different from anything I've seen, and it has really good results. And so then everybody jumps on it and they copy it and start. It's a trend start, and so things like this always happen. And that's why I don't know. It's hard to stay up with it, but as long as you're always spending time to stay up with it, then you've been okay at it.
So you think that, if somebody was reading content they liked and there was no call to action to post it on a social network, it actually may drive them away from that particular content
totally.
site. It's
Sometimes people read content for the sole purpose of sharing it. That's like what they're there for. And so, yeah, I've even found that where I've found sites that I think are used poor. If I want to pin something on Pinterest, but they don't have a place where I can do that, or their images aren't correctly formatted to do that, then it's a problem.
It's like, I don't want to hang out with those people.
Sorry.
Does 7 signals have anything on it? Any calls to action?
Yeah, but they're just very basic. You have to go into it. Yeah, they're different with that. They shy away from calls to action almost completely. But
So are companies paying much attention to like their Facebook pages? Because I'll go to the link from a company to their Facebook page and I'm like, okay, big deal, and I'm back out of it. So what are they doing?
And what you'll see is very, very common, and we get approached all the time by companies, and they go to some social media conference, and they learn that, McDonald's is on Facebook, so I should be on Facebook. And so then they go create this Facebook page, but they're not going to get results from it that way. Different companies do better on different social networks. And so, Facebook is the biggest one, so there's a lot of people on it, but you have to have the content that people want. I ran the whole social media campaign for Utah Valley Pediatrics for a really long time, and I did all of their marketing on there. And it was relevant to moms who had kids that were looking at pediatrics, and so that's what we posted. We were always sticking with the content that was relevant to their audience. But, different businesses don't do as well in those atmospheres. They may do better on Pinterest because it's a more visual thing, or Instagram, the kind of the same thing. And so you'll see tons of businesses just jump on the bandwagon. Then they create a Twitter account and a Facebook account, and they just start posting stuff, but it's not relevant, so nobody likes their page. And so it's always about finding what your audience wants and giving it to them, and which takes work, and which is why a lot of them don't have time to do it, because it's time consuming. So yeah, it's always different.
Should we call it? This is great.
So I think a marketing research one would be
Nice
good.
job, Matt.
Or I think a focus on marketing. I think that's a good idea.
Focus on marketing.
Focus on marketing like a month.
Well, marketing's huge. We'll have to come up with something there, or social media.
Yeah.
Maybe we should have Alex come in or something and do a little.
Yeah.
Do you go to his
I took his
class?
class. I met Alex
Oh, you took his class.
a long time ago. Yeah.
But he basically sandwiches like guest lectures, right? That's the way he does it.
Yeah.
So it'd be like find the best guest lecturer to come in and do something, I guess.
Yeah. He just finds the best person to speak about whatever specific topic he has. And so that's kind of how he does it.
Well, thanks, Matt.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.